We're always trying to find new voices with insight into the interesting political times we live in. Spencer Sullivan is a Republican political consultant working on local congressional races, and we welcome him to the Trapezoid.
Happy to be on. Thank you.
I know that you were working on one of the congressional races in our area here, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But as a Republican consultant, what makes this midterm different than others?
Yeah, I think there's a couple themes you see here, Alan. One of the themes is you have in a Republican primary race, right? A lot of Republican primary candidates running to see how close they can get to President Trump. And I think an NBC Wall Street Journal poll came out a couple of days ago saying 88% of Republican voters approved of President Trump's job, right? So that's one of the highest ratings that a current sitting president has had through their own party. So you're seeing a Republican primary candidates, the party trying to run as close to President Trump as possible in certain districts. Obviously, the second theme here is how does this play in the general election with a president that, at very least, is very controversial at times.
Well, let's take this one at a time, because a lot of Florida Republicans find themselves in the position that they were not great fans of Donald Trump when he was running in the Republican primary, and he won, and they have had to jump on board the train. And you see this playing out right here in the 17th Congressional District with Greg Steube and Julio Gonzalez, where Steube is trying to pin some of Julio Gonzalez's anti-Trump tweets on him during this primary race.
Yeah, and I think what has brought a lot of Republicans on board, to be honest with you, we saw the numbers come out today, 4.1% GDP growth, the economy. Yes, there's a lot of things that President Trump does that traditional Republicans, a lot of folks just don't like, just don't agree with, but you can't argue at certain points he's getting the job done. And when the job gets done, his approval ratings go up, you have 4.1% GDP growth. The dynamics there are interesting, again, in the primary, because you have to get elected by primary voters, but you also don't want to run too far to the right or too far to the left on the Democratic side, right, to get elected in the general election.
So you've come down here to actually work on the congressional district that I'm familiar with, the 15th Congressional District, which is a small part of Hillsborough and Polk County right now, and basically you have a Republican primary where some of the Republicans are saying that they're all in for President Trump, but they weren't always.
Yeah, and that's an interesting dynamic that you have seen playing in Florida's 15th district. You see it all over the country, in which you have Republican primary candidates right now saying, running very close to President Trump, but in the past have made pretty aggressive statements against President Trump. You have Neil Combie right now, who's trying to tie himself very close to the president, but has made aggressive statements, has attacked President Trump, has even said that he's dumped President Trump in the past, but clearly has seen since the poll numbers, since the Wall Street Journal number, that 88% of Republican voters approve of President Trump, that he's got to change his rhetoric.
And so you're trying to point that out.
Correct. We're trying to inform the voters of Florida's 15th district that Neil Combie has not been a President Trump supporter throughout the entire process.
What is the challenge for Republican candidates in the general election during this midterm? Because the conventional wisdom has been Republicans do well in the midterms, Democrats do not. But was that more of a function of the fact that Barack Obama was president for 8 years and the party in power always does poorly in the midterms?
I think it's a very powerful thing to run against something versus running for something, right? So I think I would agree with that sentiment, saying that it's very easy to run against a sitting president that you can run against, like President Obama or maybe President Trump in the future, as we're going to see in 2018. But I would say it's not so much the specific president, but it's the president that's in the party that's in power, and it's very easy to run against them, to be a check and balance against the current party in power.
Are you concerned about the enthusiasm gap? Because right now the Democrats seem to have that because of their feelings about the president, and even some Republicans have jumped off the Trump train because of the president's various issues. Is it going to be more of a challenge for Republicans this year to get their vote out?
Yes and no. I think I'm going to give you the lawyer answer, not the Michael Cohen lawyer answer on this one. The midterms traditionally favor Republicans because of the demographics. The Republicans tend to vote a little bit more in the midterms than Democrats do. I think everything has an equal and opposite reaction. That means the Supreme Court pick is going to energize not only the Democratic base, but the Republican base, and remind the Republican voters, a lot of Republican voters, like Florida voters, who weren't overly thrilled with President Trump at the time, why they pulled the trigger for President Trump for the Supreme Court.
We have to leave it there. Before we go, we want to share with you what some of our viewers had to say about last night's show on the Stand Your Ground law. Florida's Stand Your Ground law has been controversial since the beginning. It's back after a debate after an unarmed man was shot and killed after he pushed another man to the ground. The man who fired the shot has not been charged because of the Stand Your Ground law. We went to Facebook for your thoughts, and Susie says, I would hope that if some stranger was yelling in your face for whatever reason and your man came out and saw it, that he would shove the aggressor away. That's called chivalry. After the guy went down, the victim backed away. The shooter shot while the victim was backing up. That's murder. He was not in danger. Mary says McLaughlin had an extensive police record that included everything from domestic disturbances to drug selling. Hardly an upright citizen. Hopefully his kid turns out better than he did. Which John responds, yes, he deserved to die? Seriously? How do you people sleep at night? Well, if you'd like to join the conversation on tonight's topic, just visit our Facebook page at facebook.com/mysuncoast.com.abc7. We want to thank Spencer Sullivan. He is a Republican political consultant, and we hope you come back.